right, well, Thursday is here again. As you can see behind me, I'm not in the Fargo office, but I'm back where I usually am here. So we're gonna go through a couple more things with our weekly webinar, but before we get into it, we never know who's gonna be new on these meetings, so I wanna point out above the Help Center tab here, in your Control Center, there's a View Weekly Website Tutorial link. If you click on that, you can view all the past website tutorials that we have recorded and posted for you. Looks like we're up to episode 44 today. That's pretty hard to believe, but I know we've been going at it for, well, I think since the beginning of the year here. So quite a few webinars, really good resource to dial in at certain areas of the Control Center. So we definitely encourage you, if you have a question or wondering, well, what did Dave and Trish cover? Feel free to go through that list. So with today's,
you want to see what we happen to be wearing from week to week.
There you go. And then so today what we're going to go over here is we're still into the My Website tab, but we're going to focus on the SEO tab here. And there's a couple things that we kind of want to go over. The first tab here, this is the browser window title. And what this does is identifies the name of your, well, if you want to put your print shop name in as an example. So mine, I put in my print shop and then where I'm located. If it's left empty, so if there was nothing here, we will use your company name as the default, but of course we encourage you to add probably a little bit more, maybe the location of where you're at, just something so that SEO can rise near the top and see, oh, they're located in Fargo, or they're located, California, wherever you're located.
And there's an analogy I like to use here too, and it's I won't go with the whole big long version of it, but it really is helpful to think of SEO from the perspective of going into the library, checking out a book, not checking out, but well, going to a bookstore and checking out, browsing the books there. Because if you go in there, what's going to catch your attention? It's not the little bits and pieces of the words in the book. It's that cover. It's that cover of the book. And from an SEO perspective, that's kind of what the browser window title is like. It's kind of like the cover of the book to your website. And so it's good to have that browser window title just be to say what it is for all of the human reasons, but SEOs love that as well. And so that's why we've got that browser window title editable, has the safety valve in there. So just like Trish said, if you just leave it blank, at a minimum, you're going to get your shop name. But it's really nice to get a few of those extra things that you want to be found as in there, which often is a geographical name, your city or your region or something like that. So do take a few thoughtful minutes on that and make sure that you get the title saying words in there that you want to be found by.
Yep. Good advice there, Dave, using the analogy of the cover of the book, but it's so true to use that in other areas, and this is a perfect example. So browser window title, if you haven't visited that tab, we encourage you to maybe personalize that if you'd like. Moving on, we have website keywords here. Well, a couple tabs we might kind of join in here, but we got website keywords and website description here. We throw in some default words, would you say? And Dave might have a little bit more to talk about to see maybe what you should do with this tab.
Yeah, so when we've been around starting to measure our time in decades rather than months and years, you start to get a few legacy settings. And honestly, these two, the keywords and descriptions, those are what I would call legacy settings. So they are there for the people that have used them in the past. But these days, from a search engine perspective, keywords and descriptions, they're neutral at best. There's no penalty for having them there, although perhaps someday there might be. But these used to be a big part of the way search engines worked. But as I said, these are neutral at best these days. They're still there for the people that have been with us for the long haul. Your keywords, your description, they're not running away. They're still there. So we want to make sure that you see that place for them. But if you have your choice of things to do today, like calling a customer to see if they have another print order or working on your keywords, call the customer. This can just sit there. So they are there. You can use them, but really not a good use of time. Just wanted to say that because they are there, because they are a legacy setting. So for those of you that just want to have the comfort of knowing they're there, there they are.
Thank you, Dave.
I should also say on the flip side of that, so that's neutral at best. But going back to the book analogy just a little bit, this is, I guess I get up a little bit on the soapbox on this part of SEO because there's all kinds of thoughts and opinions out there, of course. But I would encourage you, if you want to get your SEO working as best as it can for you, make sure you're using the website content, the visible human readable contents to tell your story. Of course, that's not a one size fits all answer, but it certainly is a very effective way to help increase your search engine visibility. That's what Google and all the others are after these days, much more than keywords and descriptions. They're looking for the story that your website is telling. What makes you unique? What is it? What makes you you? And that's what the search engines love to find. So it's kind of nice because you can write for humans and search engines at the same time, and it just kind of works out that way.
All right. Good advice there. Thanks, Dave. Moving on under keywords is website description. This is kind of a default that we put in there for you. You could certainly go in here and adjust that as you want. And this is kind of legacy, I guess you could say, as well, but we wouldn't want to remove it by any means. So it's still here. It still is going to be there for those that have used it in the past. But this kind of fits in me with keywords where if you're going to have a decision between calling your printer to get them that quote or work on your website description, we'd probably want you to go and call your printer there or print buyer and kind of work with them. So I didn't know if there's anything more on that one or.
No, I think that's
right.
good. Yeah, these are easy. When we say the legacy settings, it's pretty easy to say, don't worry about it. So
Sure. Okay. And then the last tab here is Google Analytics, and you probably heard a lot about Google Analytics, but if not, it's relevant with SEO. We do have a link here to our knowledge base article, Site Statistics with Google Analytics. And just going to this quick, it just talks a little bit about Google Analytics, the link to go there to sign up and so forth. So some good information here. But back under this tab, Google will provide you a tracking ID. And when you enter this in, you're able to then use your website, the tracking ID, in conjunction with your Google Analytics account and start looking at, say, website traffic, other analytics that Google will track for you. This is one location or one of the locations to enter in your Google tracking ID.
So there's a whole big world, as you know, with Google and Google Analytics. That's beyond the scope of what we can cover in any one given webinar, or for that matter, a whole year's worth of webinars probably. So that's where those links are up there, the site statistics and Google Analytics. So make sure that you're kind of relying on that huge universe of information that Google has. But the big takeaway here is it's super easy to connect to that big, huge universe of information that Google has. It is literally as easy as taking your Google Analytics ID and just dropping it right into that spot. Our part of it is to bring that connection to you. Google's part of it is to provide all the tools that Google offers. And then your part of it is to put your unique Google tracking ID right there. That's what connects all the big stuff we do and all the big stuff Google does. Without that piece in the middle, they don't talk to each other, but it really is that easy. Plug your code in right there. Google will help coach you along on how to do that, and so will we too, if you just need that point.
Yeah, we'll help you as well. And also, Google offers a more robust tracking code option. If you click Advanced, Google would provide you with some JavaScript code that you can also plug in here for more advanced tracking. And their website, the information that Google Analytics has, will go over this more with you and explain to you what that does. So you can use, I don't want to say a simplified version of the tracking ID, but there's also a more advanced version with JavaScript that they may provide to you that you can also enter in. So a couple options here, a lot of good information like Dave said. Just really good resource here. And if you have questions, you can certainly reach out to us and we'd be happy to help you out here.
So that comes, we're getting dangerously close to the end of today's webinar, but that also, should I do the drum roll here for you, Trish?
Drum roll, what's going on next, Dave?
So we're going to pause a little bit here on our weekly webinar series. So for all of you that keep showing up week after week, thank you. We're going to miss you, but not forever. This is just a temporary pause on the weekly webinar series. So I don't know. How do I go on from that? It's
We're just gonna
just
take a
want to
little break is all.
yeah, yep. So it's fun doing these, but we do have some other plans in mind here. We will be back, and I guess maybe the way to recap it is just that good reminder. Maybe bring it back right where you started, Trish. All of the other webinar series are.
We are in your control center, and in the upper right above Help Center, view weekly website tutorials. We'll take you here to view all the good content we provided you over the past 5-6 months or so, probably more. Good resource, really good location to find the past webinars that we've been holding. So I think with that, unless we have anything else, we're done for now, and we'll see you guys back when we decide to start back up, but we will start back up. So we're not going anywhere. We're still here. All right. Well, take care.